I was writing an assignment, and then I was looking at the text editor that I was using, Google Docs, and I thought to myself, we all know how to use these. We can make stuff bold, italics, change color. Everybody's familiar with a text editor. But you know what would be cool? What if I could make a text editor in 3D? Introducing 3D text editor. So here, we can navigate the text. We can in 3D space, we can transform it, and then we can also view it in 3D and type in, edit the text in 3D space itself. That's pretty cool. Let's look at how we can code this up. So in the code, I made this using React, React 3 Fiber, and TypeScript. I made a editable text component and a toolbar component. This toolbar is what allows us to edit the text. So version 1, here, it's very basic. You can't really move around. You can edit the text, but you can't see anything. I wanted to make it look a little bit nicer. So here in our editable text component, we initialize the text, and then we can have a state for the text and editing. These states are what allow us to actually delete characters and add new characters in. So inside the useEffect hook, we can toggle the states, and then that's what allows us to set and retrieve and delete text. So in order to get the shape of the geometry itself, I'm using the text geometry of Three.js. So here I am setting a new mesh, and I'm using the text geometry class. I tried to use React 3 Fiber Dre, but that was giving me a lot of issues. So I preferred to use this text geometry. So now, when we make it look a little bit nicer, now there's some stars, a black background, and the color's a little bit nicer. Let's go back. I wanted to make a rich text editor because it's not good to have just one. I wanted to be able to actually highlight, edit, and delete multiple chunks of text. So here, I am setting rich text editor to instead of taking just one string, to take an array of chunks. And then I set these chunks and perform operations on it instead of the previous editable text component. Inside of my toolbar, I define the toolbar 3D. That's the ribbon that handles all of these transformations. I define it, and then using that, I can actually I can apply these styles to it. The actual toolbar itself is just the plain geometry. It's just a 2D geometry on a 3D space, and I use the same text geometry class that I did for the editable text component. Now here with the rich text editor, it failed. It's not working. They're overlapping with each other, and I wanted to find a way to make it look a little bit better. So here I'm defining a caret position. This is that little blinking cursor because I wanted to allow users to actually see where it is, where they're actually editing. And then in order to position the chunks effectively, I'm calculating the position in 3D space and then offsetting the chunks, offsetting the chunk width accordingly. That way now they don't overlap anymore. And I'm doing the same thing with the blinking caret. The problem I found with doing this approach is that although I could delete and I could edit the text, the blinking caret didn't actually move effectively between chunks. It would only ever start blinking at the first chunk, and I didn't really like that. So here, again, we're defining the character geometry of the position, and then based on the mouse and where the user clicks, I'm trying, at least attempting, to position the caret there. But that wasn't really working with the rich text editor. For some reason, it never really found a position relative to the other chunks. I think it was too complicated. It was always set to one chunk. And whenever I tried to do highlighting, it never effectively captured the position of the characters at all. Neither in the editable text component or the editable rich text component. I tried to make it, I tried to have it so that you can highlight words and delete whole chunks of words, of characters, but that wasn't working at all. For some reason, that process just wasn't all that great. So in the end, I ended up going back to just using editable text, and I abandoned the whole rich text idea. This code here is my attempt to implement a rich text editor with multiple chunks and highlighting text, but it didn't really work out in the end. So with regards to the rich text editor, I was able to actually have the chunks spaced out properly, but as you can see, the blinking caret doesn't actually go to the second chunk, and I can't do effective character highlighting. So I scrapped the whole idea, went back to the original. That works fine. I can transform it, but there's two problems. The first is that I can't undo my transformations, and I don't have italics. So with the editable text, I moved everything I did for the blinking caret, and I moved it back to the original editable text component. So here, now I took the code that I used the first time, everything I learned from the rich text editor, I applied to the original one. So that's it. So that gave me a lot better results, because now the blinking caret didn't have to keep track of multiple chunks. It was just one string, and it just kept track of the end position. So that same use effect that I had before, I just copied and put it in this component instead. To do the italics, I couldn't actually transform the individual characters, but instead I went with rotating the whole mesh, giving a slight rotation to mimic the effect of italics. It's not perfect, but it's great. At least it conveys the idea. So now I can change the color, I can do italics and bold, but now I need to tackle undoing transformations. I want it, if you click on a button twice, it undoes it. So inside the handle style change, I keep track of the previous transformation, and then I toggle the state. If active style has a value or is undefined, depending on if it's defined or not, then I apply the transformation, and then I keep the previous state. So in the end, I can actually now effectively see the transformations. I can delete text, I can write new text, I can change the color, I can rotate in 3D space, I can make it italicized, I can undo it, go back and forth, I can make it bold. So this, in the end, this experiment to make a 3D text editor in 3D space was pretty successful. I'm pretty happy with the result. It's a pretty cool project. If you liked it, like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know what you think. And if you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know.